So we're here at Laguna Orthopedic Rehab, and what we're going to go through is we want to touch on an exercise that's very, very important to protect and maintain normal human function. And that's essentially the deep squat. Now, squatting is obviously a very simple movement. It's something that we all know very well, most likely. But in today's version of what a good squat looks like is probably morphed a little bit over the years away from where it should be. Thanks to the modern world, we spend so much time sitting. We don't often get any deeper than our hips and ankles don't often get much deeper than a seated shape. So it's easy to lose the capacity to drop down into a baby squat or an Eastern cultural squat, which we should all have the capacity to do. So it's really important that we prioritize and protect this function, because to be able to squat normally dictates that you have normal hip function, normal ankle function, good trunk control, all the things that are very relevant to performance if you're an athlete, and just an adequate quality of life in general. So the way that a squat should look when we're doing this sort of thing is with your feet straight. We want to create some rotational torque or rotational force from your hips through your leg. And what you might see here is, if you watch where my knees are pointing, I can let my legs de-rotate, and as my legs rotate inwards, you'll notice that the arches of my feet will collapse. It's very easy to turn your feet out, and this is a position that a lot of us can default into if our hip strength isn't there, if we're stiff through our hips, if we're tight through our ankles, if we've lost the ability to control our leg in the way that it's designed to be controlled. We can often end up in this sort of de-rotated, unsafe position. So the way to set yourself up for a squat, obviously you want to be up nice and tall, you want your feet pointing straight, but you want to create this sort of outward rotation through your leg first. And then what happens basically is that you just drop down into the deeper reaches of that position. Now what we'll find is, when you get down to this shape, if your ankles and hips are a little bit tight, then you might find that your leg's going to want to start to end up in a bit of an altered position. Again, your foot might turn out, your knee might collapse inwards. And this again is one of the positions that sets the arch, the Achilles, the shin, the knee up to be in a bad shape. So we want to make sure that with your feet straight, those knees rotated out, a deep squat should look relatively smooth and comfortable. Your legs should almost be on tracks, in a sense where those knees shouldn't be wobbling on the way down. You should be able to lock things into place and just hinge backwards and forwards depending on what you feel comfortable doing. So for the purposes of improving your strength, obviously a ton of those will help. Sets of 10, sets of 15. We want your body to experience some fatigue, just to show that it's not quite good enough, and it'll come back stronger the next day. Adding weights, adding the resistance bands around your knee to really attack those glutes. But the important thing about the squat is the position that you're in, that foot straight, knee rotated out shape, because that translates through to anything else you might be doing. So if you're practicing some lunges, again, we want to make sure that knee's not wobbling, the foot's straight, knees out, and you're just basically translating up and down over the top of that, going up steps, going down steps, box jumps, anything that you're doing. The more you can create that and protect that shape, when you're doing something like running, it's more likely to transfer through to that position. So if you can't squat deep, then clearly there's potentially a restriction in your ankle or your hip. But if you can't maintain that good position, then it's very unlikely that you're going to magically do that when you're running around or playing sport or doing something more dynamic. So the more you can practice that good shape in context, the more likely your body is to do that when you need it most, when you're not supposed to be thinking about these sorts of things. You've trained it and made it worthwhile. So see how you go, let us know how you went, and we'll see you next time. Bye.